Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis, and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble, and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook, and I just posted yesterday a really great interview with the president of Legacy Precious Metals, who is discussing why you need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903. In November of 2020, the Democrats and their allies intentionally changed and ignored state law in the administration of the election. They were planning to pull off the greatest scheme, worse than Watergate. They didn't think we would catch them, but we did. Find out more details about what happened, how they did it, in the new documentary film called 2,000 Mules, directed and narrated by renowned filmmaker and my friend, Dinesh D'Souza, and executive produced by the Salem Media Group. This is also with research from truethevote.org. 2,000 Mules tells the story of the ones who tried to hijack a presidential election. You'll see the actual video surveillance tapes. You'll see how their cell phones were tracked to box after box as they got paid to carry out this illegal scheme. Watch the movie and decide the truth for yourself. Attend a limited release premiere of 2,000 Mules on May 2nd or May 4th. Check your local listings and get your tickets today at 2000mules.com. That's the number 2000mules.com.
As a constitutional law attorney, former senior legal advisor, and personal counsel to President Donald J. Trump, Jenna Ellis believes in the rule of law and the importance of integrity in our elections. And she's ready to tackle the big cultural and legal issues facing America. This is the Jenna Ellis Show. Here is your host, Jenna Ellis.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Jenna Ellis Show. I'm Jenna Ellis, and I am still here at Mar-a-Lago, and I'm so excited to sit down with my good friend, Dr. Maria Ryan, because you are one of not only my best friends, and I love you so much, but you are just such an encouraging, just strong woman who's had an amazing career, so many awards, and you host a radio show, and you are so accomplished. And so for so many people who really should know and follow you, I just wanted to spend some time talking about you and your amazing life story. So for people who should be, all of you, follow Dr. Maria Ryan. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you, Jenna. You've had quite the accomplishments, and you're still making history. I'm telling you, with the work you're doing. Well, I grew up in the wonder years. I really did, where kids played outside. You played dodgeball. You know, both your parents worked, but you all ate dinner together. It was ideal. I got married very young, had bang, bang, bang children, 3 children, and my husband and I would work opposite shifts, and we were getting nowhere. And I really wanted my children to go to Catholic schools. Well, how was that going to happen? We were making, God knows, I don't recall what the minimum wage was at the time, but probably $4 or $5 an hour. So we decided somebody's got to go to college, and somebody would stay home after I graduated. So I went to college first for nursing, and he kept cooking in a restaurant. And on the weekends, I would work 32 hours. At 7 p.m. on Friday, I'd go in as a nurse's aide to a nursing home to 3 the afternoon on Saturday. Wow. And then I would do it on Saturday night, 7 p.m. to 3 Sunday afternoon, and then would go to college during the week. So I became a registered nurse, worked primarily in the emergency department. Then I went on for my bachelor's degree. And one of the things that I noticed was I was a really good diagnostician. So not only did I relate with patients, I also was able to diagnose pretty darn easily, because in the emergency department I was working in, it was the busiest in New Hampshire. So the doctors or nurse practitioners would rely on the registered nurses to already order things before they even saw the patient. That way they would already have lab results back so we could keep the flow moving. And you really had to be good at it, and the doctors kept praising me. So I ended up going on for my master's degree as a family nurse practitioner, even though I practiced mainly in the emergency department. And for those people who don't know what a nurse practitioner is, it's a different model. Medical doctors have a medical model, meaning they look at the disease, they treat it, and that's it. Nurse practitioners, we look holistically at the whole thing, what their home life is like, how can we help in different ways. If we prescribe a medicine, can they afford it? So in New Hampshire, I have the same privileges as a doctor. So I became a nurse practitioner, board certified, but I worked in a hospital, and I kept noticing dysfunction. And I couldn't sit on my laurels with that. It was wonderful that I could embark and make a difference in one person's life. And next one I saw, I made a difference, positive difference. I saw a lot of things that are horrific in emergency departments too. The dregs of society, rape of a child, murder victims that, would come in and we couldn't save them, and they were murdered, and we had to get forensics and all that. But the system, I felt, needed my systems thinking mind. So I started out as director of an emergency department and kept getting promoted, then a chief nursing officer, chief operating officer, and in a very big hospital, 400-bed hospital in Pennsylvania, and then got my PhD in healthcare administration, and then became a CEO. So I've always been very mission driven, and never satisfied with myself.
Yes.
First I had
the type A people were kind of like that, yeah.
I had to first help people. Then I had to help the whole department. Then I had to help the whole hospital system. Then I had to help my whole community. And then I wanted to affect healthcare nationally and started speaking.
So now you're helping the whole world, basically. So, yes.
And then after 30 years of being in healthcare, something changed in me during the Trump administration. I just trusted that people in our government were looking out for us, we the people's best interest. I didn't realize how much corruption that was.
Yeah.
And when I saw the censorship of a sitting president and the lies that were told, the whole Russian collusion thing, the CIA knew almost immediately it was fake. But yet we spent $45 million of our money on the Mueller investigation. All that deeply affected me. And it awakened the beast. I said, how can I help? I got to get my country back on track. And in the meantime, I had met Rudy Giuliani at a speaking engagement. And from the very first time we met, we talked about how we can help others and how we can help our country. And after several years, it came to fruition that he has his own radio show, the Rudy Giuliani Show, but on Sundays we have what we call Uncovering the Truth. And we talk about those issues that are important to everyday people, because I'm an everyday Joe, right? I didn't grow up in silver spoon. I had to work hard, and I don't mind working hard. Almost my whole life I had 2 or 3 jobs. Even when I was an executive, if my oldest boy was just starting college, I worked also on the weekend, so everything affects me, the grocery prices, the gas prices, and I relate to people. So it's been a blessing and almost a mission now. And wherever I go in this great country and meet people like you, they say the same thing. It's like they have a calling to come forward. You have several podcasts that you've done with Mike Lindell, right? He's spending his own money. He has a calling to help the country. Rudy Giuliani's got this mission, this anti-corruption mission. And when you look at the disgusting things the media and politicians have tried to do to this man, and you know what? He can look up in the mirror and say, you know what? They've tried to destroy me, but I'm sticking up for the people because they deserve the truth.
Yeah.
And I admire that.
Yeah.
And there's a whole class of us now.
There is, and what I love about your story, Maria, is that so much like me, I mean, I'm just a regular girl from Colorado who loves the Constitution and felt a mission as well to teach people about our Constitution, about our great country, and fall in love with law in the way that I did. And there are so many different people who were part of President Trump's Make America Great Again that are from all walks of life, and it seems like politics was so siloed for so long. But then you have stories like yours where you weren't engaged in politics, you were simply engaged in wanting to make a difference in this country, and President Trump really brought those types of American dreams to life. And so in your experience and in how you got from all of your healthcare mission to wanting to spread the truth about the country. Talk about that process and why President Trump in particular was a catalyst to that.
Yeah. Well, I am from New Hampshire, so we have the first in the nation primary. So we would meet politicians in our living room. It's very small venues in New Hampshire, so we literally got to meet every kind of presidential candidate if he wanted to. And I'll never forget, my father got me involved very young. He took us to meet President Nixon during his re-election tour at what was then called Grenier Airfield. And I still have the little 45 that is, "We want Nixon, let's vote back Nixon, let's help him finish up his job." So I always had some interest. And even as a CEO, I had to work with politicians because they create laws that affect me and my patients. So I was always involved in that respect. But again, I was blinded to the dirty side of politics. And it's not just Democrats, independents, libertarians, Republicans. That's the party I always related to because I felt really deeply Republicans were for all people, that they believed in the American spirit. They don't believe in a big government that can take care of you, which literally keeps you down when they take care of you.
Yes.
But let us get the environment in such a way there's opportunity for everybody if they want to rise. I hear good stories all the time about somebody being from a broken home or had a mother addicted to crack, didn't know who the father was, but yet that person ended up at Harvard or ended up developing something. We all have it in us if we tap into it. But anyways, I got a little off subject there.
But that's so inspiring, because that is the American dream. That anyone, no matter where you come from, no matter the circumstances or how you grew up, everyone can achieve if they just want to go out and do the hard work and have a dream and have a desire to go and make the world a better place. And I love what President Lincoln said, or what he's quoted as saying, is that he always wanted to make the world a little better for having lived in it. And that
so
reminds
beautiful.
Me so much of what you're describing.
Yeah. This is a great country. And so President Trump exposing, the deep state. And yes, I started believing it. Never thought it was as deep as I ended up learning it was, and that there was corruptions on both sides, and that there was certain Republicans that would make deals with the Democrats so they could further, whether it's their own pocket or just being reelected. It really, they lost sight of we the people. And the government kept getting larger and larger. In the 70s, it was the Department of Education. Then after 9/11, Department of Homeland Security. And now under Department of Homeland Security, Disinformation Board, which scares the bejesus out of all of us.
Yes.
And then did you hear what the CDC, and I think it was through a Freedom of Information Act, because they were hiding it, they tracked American citizens during the pandemic to see where they were going. So they knew they were going to church or knew they were going here or there.
It's Big Brother China in a way that is so scary. And from your perspective as a holistic, especially healthcare provider, not just treating symptoms and saying, okay, basically like you're fine, you're not going to die, so go home, kind of how some emergency doctors tend to act, but really caring about the whole person. How did going through this whole pandemic and seeing, big pharma, but then also the government with Biden trying to compel the vaccine compared to what President Trump wanted to do, which was both therapeutics and the vaccine. A lot of people are like, why hasn't he come out against the vaccine? Well, it's because he just wanted that as an option. He never compelled anyone to, they could have a choice, wear a mask or not, or, all of those things. How did that impact or change your view of government, or what was your response? I mean, that is such a huge question, but
it's very intuitive, Jenna, because that's what did it for me. Like, that's what I said. I've got to stop working my job and get involved in stuff where I can hold the CDC accountable. Dr. Fauci, I'm just this little person, but not
he
every
is a very little person. Yeah.
I'm a little person, but not every provider
you're a bigger person.
agreed with what the administration, especially the Biden administration, did. And I used to work with the CDC all the time when we would have difficult patients, things we didn't understand. It was this collaborative relationship. And now with the lack of transparency, it shattered my world, because that was my world. And I believed in them, and it totally shattered my world. I cannot even get good statistics about the VAERS report, the Vaccine Adverse Effects report, which has its problems because it's all self-reporting. So, but there are so many side effects. Deaths, I don't really have an accurate number. It leaked out about myocarditis only because the UK started reporting on it and Israel started reporting on it. And then just even that fight against hydroxychloroquine. And, I'm a little burnt out on this subject because I've done so many interviews on hydroxychloroquine way back in the height of the pandemic. Because even Dr.
Like when you
Fauci,
could get canceled for that.
Yeah. Dr. Fauci said hydroxychloroquine has great antiviral properties. We knew it wasn't a cure, but it could lessen it. I myself prescribed it to several people, and it lessened the symptoms for a while and hopefully kept them out of the hospital.
I myself took it.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah, I never got COVID, but I don't know how, because everybody around me has had it. But anyways, I've even tested for antibodies, and I don't have any antibodies. But yeah, all that really, really affected me, because it's like, isn't our job to take care of patients? Why are we letting them suffer and not giving them some kind of therapeutic?
Yeah, that's potentially life-saving.
And for government, like Andrew Cuomo in the state of New York telling doctors they couldn't prescribe it, it was unprecedented, Jenna. I was like, what are we doing? This is politics, all politics.
Yes.
It's not about caring for people, not about... Science is not absolute. I love it when people say, I'm following the science and this person said it, so it's got to be, Dr. Fauci said it. So if you go against Dr. Fauci, you're attacking science. BS, right?
Yes.
We could have...
Thank you. Yes.
We could have 10 providers in the same room, and, half of us are going to think differently about how to take care of a patient, whether it's through our experience or what we learned, where the others may be more into research and they're looking at things in a different light. You never know. So we're not all vanilla. We're not all one way. And you have to have diversity of thought.
Yes, and
to
be
get
willing
the
to
right,
ask the questions too. I mean, it reminds me so much of the practice of law, and that's why, in the same way, the practice of medicine, or even questioning the science, because it used to be. I mean, when I grew up and I learned about science as a subject in elementary school, it was always you have a hypothesis, you test to see if it's true, and that is actually following the science.
Yes.
Is all of these different tests, and you determine the data, but it's also how one particular case is. Just like in law, if I have different clients, they may all be charged with the same thing, or but that doesn't mean that the facts to their individual unique circumstances are going to necessitate the same best defense.
Right.
And also lawyers are going to have a diversity of opinion, and that's why we practice. And so it's also, it sounds so much like how the government is also wanting to say, well, we can't ask these questions about law, about the election. It's like, we can't ask these questions about, hydroxychloroquine and the vaccine. And it's the government wanting to tell practitioners how to best do our job. And that is so fundamentally antithetical to the whole idea, as you said, of government that should just preserve and protect the right of individuals to go seek out the best lawyer, the best healthcare practitioner, the best practices.
Absolutely.
So what was your response to all of this, and how have you gotten engaged further?
Mainly it's through media, through being interviewed, whether it's Newsmax or now the up and coming thing. People are so sick of cable and mainstream media. They're going to like,
activists.
like your podcast. They're going to different avenues to get things that were censored on the other television shows. So I've been trying to get out information that way. Same with Dr. McCullough, Dr. Zelenko. There's a lot of people doing that, writing articles. The Epic Times, some people call it Epoch Times, is really good. I love John Solomon too. I sing his praises all the time.
He's a great reporter.
He is so good, gets a lot of information through the Freedom of Information Act, and he's just reasonable. But we still have a long way to go, and we just need to organize better. The radical left know how to organize. They all have the same talking points. If you flip through the channels, you even see a particular word, debunked. They try to say that about Hunter Biden's laptop. So it's psychologically, right? You hear that, you put on your television, you can't afford cable, and you just have mainstream media, and all you hear is, oh, the laptop was debunked. You believe it. I'm not
Say
blaming
something
the
over
people.
and over again.
Yeah. But it's something we Republicans, Libertarians, Independents need to start getting back to the Constitution, need to start getting back to a smaller government. When the government takes more of your paycheck than your family, there's something wrong there.
Absolutely.
When you look at city tax, depending where you live, state tax and federal tax, that's the other thing that a lot gets under my skin, is this notion that the rich don't pay for their taxes. Okay, I'm not in that stratosphere, but I can look at analytics. The United States has the most progressive, and I'm talking about income tax. I don't know a lot about the corporate taxes, so maybe big corporations aren't paying their fair share. I don't know. Income tax, we have the most progressive tax system, where it does go on your income, and the higher you make, the more you pay in. It doesn't mean if you are lucky enough to make millions and millions of dollars, there no way should you have to then give up your money that you earned just because you reached that stratosphere.
Right.
Our system has it. I think the top percentile might be 35%. No, 32, 35% with taxes. Then that's it. They're paying their fair share. And these people do tend to give to charities and give, if they're business owners, more to their employees. So they have to look at the big picture.
Yeah, and it makes sense, and it's so frustrating. I mean, the libertarian theme or mantra is taxation is theft, and there is a truth to that, in the sense that the government shouldn't be taking your wealth to then redistribute and spend it for you on projects that they, in their discretion, believe are in the best interests of all Americans, because that ultimately is socialism.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's saying we're using this for the quote-unquote common good, when they're deciding that, rather than what our founders understood was entrepreneurship and also personal ownership of property, which includes your wealth in every category, to make sure that you can then spend on things and give to certain charities or give to projects. Or even government-funded projects. And if the government actually had to go and get donors to their projects, instead of saying, well, we're forcibly compelling you to buy into this project, how many of these things would actually be funded? Probably not a lot of them.
No.
Right? So I completely agree with you that there are so many different problems with this. And even as you're saying, the bigger government. So look at the CDC, for example. How can they say, we know the best practices for every single business over 100 people? I mean, that just never made sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense, and thank God that got shot down by the Supreme Court, because so you have 99 employees. Their whole premise was you're at risk if you don't have a vaccine or a mask. So 99, you're not at risk, but 100, you are. I mean, it's
like sitting here, we're fine, but if we stand up, we have to put our mask on going out of a restaurant. That never made sense either.
Since I have one of the best lawyers in the whole country here, I have a question for you that I've been thinking about. So the Supreme Court said that healthcare workers have to be vaccinated. I know so many good providers, nurses, respiratory therapists who left their job.
Yeah.
They're talented people.
Which is
Now
so
the
wrong.
hospitals are in trouble. They don't have enough employees. I don't want to get sick because I know I'm not going to get good care in a hospital. And it's in dire, dire straits right now. How can that be overturned?
Well, it should be. And you know what's so frustrating is that the Supreme Court, and I did a whole show on this, by the way, so go listen to that.
Okay.
But you know, for everyone who is looking at all the different mandates, but in terms of, you know, the Supreme Court tied that to the government disbursement of Medicare and Medicaid, which is again showing why all of these government funded programs and dollars, they're entitled to. It's like these hospitals go, oh wow, look, we get all of this money, but then it comes with strings attached. And so the best thing that hospitals could do would say, we don't want to provide this, and we're going to actually take care of our workers. And so of course it can still be overturned, and hopefully as you know we get through all of this, we can revisit all of those, and you know there's not that same necessity, and that Medicare and Medicaid will, you know, determine that that's not necessary. But absolutely, and I think it was in a sense, I mean, it made sense what the Supreme Court said in terms of just the law, because they don't set policy, but in terms of the policy, it's a very, very bad decision.
Very
because to
bad
me,
decision.
it also never made sense. Okay, so everyone else now is fine making their own decision about what's best for themselves and their own bodies in terms of a experimental vaccine, except for the people who actually are in healthcare.
And a lot of them probably have natural immunity because they probably got COVID doing that. But every hospital, and I'm just talking about hospital systems, takes Medicare and Medicaid. Because the government is now the largest payer of those things, you can't survive without it.
Yeah, see, and that's where
it's
like the Department of Education, where it's like the states will take so much money from the federal government that they can't balance their budget without it. And so now states have shrunk in terms of their individual sovereignty because their reliance on the federal government. We have to get back to independence.
Yes.
Is the bottom line. What it sounds like in the healthcare whole entire world, independence and being able to, as a practitioner, make those best determinations is really the goal and should be the goal for change.
You know, the whole education system is flawed too. Well over a decade ago, I did a blueprint for a better educational system, and I did a lecture on it out in Chicago, and I need to update it. But basically and I'm going to try to be very short here, it lengthened the school day. We provided, regardless of money, healthy foods, non-GMO, because that whole food industry is corrupt too. I don't want to get into that, but really good, nutritious foods for breakfast and lunch we feed you at schools. And the classics were taught again, geography, civics, math, very aggressive agendas. We can't keep passing kids along that don't know how to read. Like, I can't believe that's still happening in this country. But very aggressive agendas, but also the reason I'm lengthening the school day in my plan is to add in exercise. Kids are very sedentary nowadays. You know, I talked about how I grew up. You were always outside playing dodgeball. They're not like that anymore.
No, because they're all sitting in front of their screens. You know, and I was even looking at this too, and this is a slight tangent, but all of these toys, like there's this new movie coming out about Barbie, where she's now a whole character, and there's a whole movie, and then they're going to do one of Polly Pocket, and like, you know, all of these other toys that like my generation grew up with. And I thought, you know what's so sad about that is that like I had a Polly Pocket, and me and my friends would make our own adventures. We had this kind of blank slate of these little characters, but kids don't do that anymore. So they need to be told to know how to play with this toy. It needs to have a storyline built in, and that's so sad where parents aren't, and especially schools aren't encouraging kids to go create and innovate and make their own adventure. And we're seeing that now, even in Hollywood. Nobody's coming up with new stories.
No,
and other
not
things
at
anymore.
all.
And
Not
isn't
at
that
all.
sad?
Yeah, we're losing our creativity and the ability to think in concepts and critically think. It's like the government's going to tell me how to think. The government's going to tell me, you know, what I can teach in school. So I had this plan, not only that would include nutrition, which goes to healthy body, healthy mind, aggressive curriculums, exercise, but also social workers. We need a line of defense for these at-risk children. We've seen it during the pandemic, the rise in child abuse, in child murders. It's really sickening. So we need social workers to identify those kids and really be able to intervene to protect the children. So I have a whole plan. It adds more staff. It adds more to the day so these kids aren't going home and just sitting, especially those kids who are going home and have no parents there.
Yeah. So what's the status of this, and where are you trying to implement it or encourage states to use this? Or?
Yeah, I kind of let it fall for a little bit because then COVID happened, but I want to get back to it. And whether it's I would like to see the Department of Education abolished.
Yes.
But I think that's going to be a long transition because you're right. The states depend on those dollars. So that's going to be a long transition. But I was thinking too, with this teacher shortage, and I would make it worse because I would take out all the activists.
Yeah.
So I think that we need things
like what Florida's bill is doing.
Yeah.
Is saying,
we got to take out the activism. We want the
own,
kids to have
sex
pure math and
Yeah.
pure science, pure history to the best of our ability. So I would make the teacher shortage a little bit worse. But say we get an expert like you teaching on something and it's taped and we could put it in every classroom at a certain time. Civics or history. I'm a history buff, and maybe I'm contracted to do something on the Civil War, and that goes to every fifth grader. There's creative ways to still get really good education to the children.
And and that's those types of innovations and ideas are all about what policymaking is about. And when we have this, even among the Republicans, it's like this elitist class that they think that they know better and that the system is working because it feeds either their own ego, their own power, or their own pocket, then they never want to change and disrupt the systems. But whoever said that change isn't a good thing? And to learn, and to learn how to perfect these things and to have, other and new and better ideas, especially with the technology we have, those are so great. And so, and I'm imagining, that a lot of my listeners, are of course young women. And so especially with the TPUSA Young Women's Leadership Summit is coming up. So definitely get your tickets. I'll be there for that. But for, you're describing your passion and your motivation. You've been a CEO. You're now, engaged in so much that you're doing. What is your encouragement to young women? Because you've won so many awards as well, for young women who want to pursue their passion and actually make a difference on either a small level or grow it into a big level like you have.
Thank you for that. I want you to write down your goals. Write them down and then take step by step. So say it's an educational goal, but you need to work full time, your rent's so much. How am I going to go to school? Take one class at a time. One night English, right? You need English for every degree. Take one English. The next semester, add a couple more. If you do a little bit at a time, in a year's time, you wouldn't believe how much you have under your belt. If it's getting involved and you don't have the money to give to groups, give of yourself, volunteer, go door to door and help a candidate, a America First candidate, not a rhino, but an American First candidate, or write letters. Write letters, email to your congressional delegation. Like I encourage you, my call to action today is write letters to your congressional delegation about that board of disinformation. We can't tolerate this. We can't sit down. We are definitely in the socialism/Marxism realm right now. We don't want to be Venezuela. I don't want you to eat in a garbage can. I don't want to go looking for my food in a garbage can.
I don't want to see you in line at the gulags.
Yeah. So just do a little bit at a time. It's overwhelming to think. Like one of my grandsons says, I want to be a neuropsychologist. And it's so overwhelming to think about all that college and stuff. And there's rent and everything else. It's like, okay, there's the big goal, but you have to have medium steps in between. You got to break it down.
Yeah, you don't just go from one place where you are today to achieving something
overnight. Yeah. And it
That's
does
such good advice.
Take work. And I do encourage people. I know we want to stimulate the economy, but not spend money right now. Save your money, work 2-3 jobs. There's openings everywhere. Even if you don't like the job, do your best at the job. And I can tell you, even McDonald's, you're going to learn stuff. What are you going to learn? You're going to learn customer service, how to process things very quickly. watch the managers, watch the other people. Always absorb that and take everything in every situation to learn a skill to go on to the next step.
And who knows who you're going to meet? I mean, President Trump loves McDonald's, so he may just walk in. You never know.
But I can say it's up to us women.
Yes.
Because we are the backbone of society and we're very good at multitasking. So you got it. And we can do this together and get our country back. Especially with you.
Yes, well, and I love your passion and your courage. And so where can people find you on your radio show and also follow you on social media and just learn more from you?
Excellent. So Uncovering the Truth is on WABC. So a lot of people don't listen to radio anymore. So you can get us by going to the website, WABCradio.com. 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We have people listening from Israel and all over the country.
Amazing.
So we'd love for you to call in. I'm on several sites for social media. I'm at Dr. Maria on Getter, Truth, Trump's Truth now. I'm on that. Just got on that. And I'm still on Twitter at Maria Ryan NH for the great state of New Hampshire.
Well, Dr. Marie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. It was so much fun.
Yes, it really was. So we'll do this again sometime and so much more to learn from you. So I'm Jenna Ellis, and thanks so much for joining us, and I will talk to you soon. Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis, and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble, and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook, and I just posted yesterday a really great interview with the president of Legacy Precious Metals, who is discussing why you need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903. I also want to talk about another great American who is the sponsor of this podcast, and that, of course, is my good friend Mike Lindell. He has been canceled out of so many box stores for simply standing up for his own political opinion. And disagree or not, or support him or not, it is a fundamental right of every American to be able to voice their opinion, and that absolutely includes politics. That absolutely includes issues that are central to our culture. That includes faith. Mike is such a very sincere Christian, and I am proud to consider him a friend, and he is, of course, a friend of this show. So right now, there is a special on MyPillow.com. Click on the new radio listener specials. Get deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including a great towel set, which is a 6-piece set. It includes 2 bath, 2 hand towels, 2 washcloths, made in the USA, regularly $109.99, now just $39.99, but you have to use the promo code Jenna. That's Jenna. That tells Mike that you listen to this show, you're happy that he is a sponsor of this show, and you will get great discounts, but use the promo code Jenna. That's Jenna, either at mypillow.com or call 1-800-564-8475 and use the promo code Jenna.